When you think Super Smash Bros., chances are this is the first thing that you'll think of. Super Smash Bros. Brawl is the most popular Smash game to date. I don't think it's a competition. And if it isn't the most popular, then it for sure is the most memorable. But if you ask me, this is the worst Smash Bros. Game, and it isn't even close. But it's also undoubtedly the best. I don't even understand why people say stuff like that. I just wanted to be a little mysterious. But let me cook. It'll make sense with time. For now, let's point our attention to the beginning of the series. Just in case you weren't a chronically online Nintendo fan who consumed an ungodly amount of Nintendo-related video essays in the 2010s like I did, Super Smash Bros. Is not actually made directly by Nintendo, but a subsidiary company they saved from bankruptcy in 1993 called HAL Laboratory, which hilariously got its name from IBM going back one letter because each letter put it one step ahead of IBM. If that were the truth, they wouldn't have gone bankrupt. The idea for Super Smash Bros. Came from HAL employee and future legend Masahiro Sakurai. He just wanted to make a 4-player fighting game. But he realized that most likely no one would be interested since the fighting game market was so oversaturated with fighting games, especially this beat-em-up style game that 40-year-olds love to this day. Since Nintendo had a roster of beloved and recognizable characters, he decided to make a game centered around those very characters. He didn't tell anyone though, because even way back in the 90s, Sakurai knew that Nintendo hated fun unless it was sanctioned by Miyamoto himself. After presenting a mostly balanced version of the game to Nintendo staff in 1999, the world would come to know Super Smash Bros. Which is honestly way ahead of its time. To this day, there is still no other game to make a quality version of this style of fighting. Unless you're counting Brawl or Multiverses, which I'm not. Every other fighting game style has a couple of games that are really popular all alongside each other. Street Fighter, Guilty Gear, and Mortal Kombat occupy the same niche, having similar concepts and long longevity, but different approaches with different audiences. Those being tryhards, horny niggas, and old heads respectively. And the 3D arena fighters have Tekken and Soul Calibur. This style of fighting is still one that is not only unique to Smash Bros., but damn near perfected on its first go. This game introduced an entirely new concept for fighting games. Instead of draining HP to 0, you increase your opponent's damage percentage until you can launch them off the map. Completely new, and it's crazy that they got it on the first try. There's a couple areas for improvement, mainly in the movement, but this game is actually phenomenal and timeless. While making this script, I played around with it and it holds up today. Plays great and the balancing is actually good. Maybe better than the current Smash game. Considering the game did so well, selling 5 million copies by 2001, when people were being socially ostracized and beaten up for gaming, allegedly, a sequel would be coming. And with such a strong foundation, how could they fail? Since they already had a good foundation to work with, the next title would only focus on 2 things: utilizing the new GameCube's hardware that Nintendo was working on to improve the game's appearances, and working up the kinks of the first game to make the gameplay as good as it possibly could be, both of which they succeeded at. Super Smash Melee is the perfected form of Smash Bros., and it doesn't get better than this. The way this game controls is just insane. The amount of control you have over your character is crazy. The game balancing is literally perfect, making the skill ceiling so high because the only thing limiting you from being better at the game is you, or the fact that the old-ass GameCube can't comprehend the complexity of your movements. They perfected Smash Bros. On the second try. Super Smash Bros. Melee was the game then, and it's still the game now. It's tournament standard, and the creator of Smash Bros. Still believes to this day that it's the best. Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Super Smash Bros. Wii U, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate would all release to critical acclaim, but would be nowhere near the quality or have the same devotion that fans had for Super Smash Bros. Melee. Since there really wasn't much to improve on Melee, Brawl just kinda ended up being different, opting for a different balance of gameplay that just ended up being kinda awful. Smash Wii U and Smash Ultimate would end up building upon the Brawl style and improving it, which would just end up with them backpedaling a few steps to make it more like Melee. So despite this, what is it that makes Brawl such a banger and a fond memory? There's just something about Brawl that sticks out, that gives it the presence that Melee can't even hope to compete with, in my opinion. I mean, there's the fact that the Wii sold exponentially better than the GameCube, but it's not just the nostalgia and the accessibility that makes it better. And when I realized what makes Brawl so memorable, I also came to the realization that gameplay isn't always the most important aspect of a game. First off, the music in Brawl is the best of the series. This isn't even a conversation. And although a lot of the tracks are remixes or progressions of music from the earlier games and the games that the characters come from, the Brawl versions just hit so damn hard. When I hear these songs, I'm hit with a wave of nostalgia for not only the games they come from, but appreciate the composition of the bangers from the Smash renditions of them. This, coupled with the aesthetics, make Brawl a fucking delight to the ears. Listen to this shit real quick. Oh my god. Listen again. One more time. I love this sound so much. It tickles my brain in all the right places. And hearing this in combination with some of the most pleasing music to ever grace my ears just makes me content with just going through the menu. And the menu looks really nice too. I like the smooth edges and button feel. The minimalist movement has killed all creative menu design. Me personally, I prefer this over that any day. When it comes to actually playing the game though, I hate the way that this game feels. Everybody, even Kirby who can literally fly, feels like they're wearing a weighted body vest. Moving around feels so incredibly awkward. So when you get launched, you either go nowhere or teleport to the end of the screen like you're a toddler being thrown by All Might. The only solace I find in playing this game is nostalgia I get from the simpler times of childhood. Gathering around a shitty CRT, playing Smash with my cousins. Coming back and playing this game though, is probably one of the worst experiences you can get from a popular fighting game. But Brawl has another amazing banger of a feature that solidifies this game as an all-timer. A feature that for some reason, Nintendo didn't think to revisit for their later titles because they hate Smash players. If you don't know about the Subspace Emissary, what are you doing? You literally missed out on peak. Nintendo decided for this Smash Bros to give us some story, some narrative and lore to go with all the ass beating. The concept of the Smash Bros gameplay loop is that it's like a sport. The Nintendo cast get together and engage in friendly combat, hosting a tournament where protagonists and side characters alike are able to display their abilities. But the evil niggas are evil, they do evil things. It's kind of a standard Mario plot. The bad guys roll up unexpectedly, wreak havoc, and the good guys rally together to save the day. But what makes the story for this game so good is they do such a good job at displaying the dynamics between each character. There's always been a sort of a, how would this character react in this situation with a character from another game conversation when it comes to the games from similar or completely different series. Nintendo, or should I say HAL Laboratory, went the extra mile by putting the characters in that situation in the most organic way possible. Each character in their series keeps their respective lore and morals and interacts with each other on the code of ethics of their own games in a way that makes it seem so natural it's insane. The characters that you assume would get along, and the characters that don't clash often. Like we see Wario go around and capture characters like Zelda and Ness, and he does it in a relatively soulless way because he doesn't particularly care about them. But when he encounters Luigi's trophy, he gives a subtle laugh because he had history with Luigi and they hate each other. There's no dialogue in the story mode at all, but they do such a good job at portraying what each character thinkings. He pulls up in his car and he is definitely like, wait, I know that guy. Haha, that's what his bitch ass gets. That's 100% what he's saying. I just know it. There's nothing you can do to convince me otherwise. And it's not just the character interactions that make it good, it's the fact that each character goes through their own arc in this connected world. Instead of every character being a post-game version of themselves, events that happen to them during their games are happening in this story, like Link acquiring the Master Sword and encountering a sleeping Yoshi in that same forest, which makes sense because if Mario characters existed in the same world as Zelda, you best believe he's getting cozied up next to the Deku Tree. It just makes sense. Ganondorf being in league with Master Hand and being a part of the greater plot, while Bowser is focused on simply screwing over the protagonist, makes sense. Wario and King Dedede essentially being murders for hire makes so much sense, it's absolutely insane. The progression of this story feels so natural, everything falls into place. Something like this normally would just be a fan service plot to curry favor with the fans, but what Nintendo and HAL Laboratory did with the Subspace Emissary is honestly a feat to behold. Imagine how it felt opening Smash Brawl for the first time just for another standard Smash Bros experience and getting a fleshed out story with plot twists, tales of friendship with an ending that's surprisingly satisfying. I think Brawl is the worst of this series for combat, but the amount of love they put into this game makes it stand out head and shoulders above the rest despite its flaws. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. And one more thing before I go.
You now have, my friend, from jolly old St. Nicholas, a pass to use the N-word for 2 months.
Take it easy, and as usual, have a good one.